The team needs you to do your job. Welcome back to another episode of JV Matters, where we talk football, especially high school football. I'm your host, Coach Lowry. I would like to go through or give you a quick advertisement, though, right now. So, this weekend on Sunday, I will have a special Father's Day episode. We'll talk about Father's Day and how it started. So tune in. It'll be on this channel as well as my other channel. Uh, so just tune in to either one of them. Today, though, we will continue talking about doing your job uh, in football on your team. So let's get started. So one of the greatest challenge or lessons football teaches is that success isn't built on individual talent alone. So what that means is it's built basically on people doing their job. You've always heard it through coaches, and you'll hear me throughout this episode here, repeated a couple of times. Make sure that you're doing your job. Players, do your job, and everything will come out in the end. All right. So from every player contributing, if one player does his job, then the machine or doesn't do their job, I should say, then the machine breaks down. All right. So we want to make sure that we're doing whatever your job is, whether you're uh, a guard on the offensive line or a tackle on the defensive line or a running back or a receiver, whatever your job is on that particular play, do your job. That may sound simple enough, but it's a lesson many players spend years trying to understand. Every season, players dream about making the big plays, scoring the touchdown, making interceptions, getting recognition, having their name announced after the game or during the game or whatever. They just want to, have their name up, the big neon lights and everything like that. So that's the name of the game for them for a lot of these players. Okay, they just want to hear their name being announced, and on the sideline they hear it. They all look back up at the stand or at the big box behind them. So there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong; those moments are exciting for young athletes. But championships are rarely won because of one player. They're won because an entire team committed to doing their job. Think about it. If only one person was doing their job, and that was the star, okay, you think that the team would win. Think about an offensive line or an offensive for a moment. If a running back breaks free for a 40-yard line for a 40-yard touchdown, everyone notices the running back. Crowd cheers. Uh, the highlight show the run. After the game or on the game film or on the news or whatever, you always see that. But what about the offensive lineman who made it possible? Or what about the receiver who threw that key block downfield for him to break free? What about the player who did something nobody will remember but made the play possible? That last second block he made just as the running back was getting ready to get tackled, and somebody came from nowhere and made a key block. The only people who possibly will actually see that will actually be the coaches when they break down film. You rarely see it on highlight reels. Pros, sometimes, yeah, you're going to see it. Oh, look at that guy, he made that key block. But you don't see it at the youth level. Very rarely. But that's football. The spotlight often lands on one player. The success belongs, though, however, to many, not just the one player. You have heard it over and over and over from the pro football coaches all the way down to the youth football coaches. Just do your job. Do your job. You've heard it over and over. I tell my players this on a daily basis. Do your job. If you don't do your job, then you have a less chance of getting on the field. If you're not willing to do your job, what I ask you to do, you probably will not see the field. It's that simple. Do your job and you'll get on the field. One of the biggest problems youth athletes face is believing their role only matters when people notice it. That's simply not true. Some of the most important jobs on a football field or on a team happen without an applause, without recognition, without statistics. Can you imagine that? Yet they're absolutely essential. What would you do without your scout team? Think about it. Because if a quarterback's blindside tackle misses his key block and my quarterback has a chance of getting hurt, I'm going to get upset. So he needs to make sure he's making his key block. It may not get noticed on film because it's off the film or it's off the sideline, off the side. As long as my quarterback does not get hurt, he's able to make his play or make his reads, we're good to go. But I'll notice it on my film. I've coached players who weren't stars. They weren't the fastest. They weren't the strongest. And they weren't even the most talented. But they were dependable. They were there every day. They made every practice. And they made every game. And as a coach, those are the players who become invaluable. Because when things get difficult, you know you can count on them. Because they're consistent, they bring effort, and they show effort, and they're accountable. You know what it means to show up and play the game 100%. They know it. They do it. Even if they're not on the field all the time, they show up at practice all the time. They're giving 100% because they're making those stars that much better. You can't half step in this game or someone is going to get hurt. If you half step, expect somebody to get hurt. I tell my players all the time, you have to go 100% all the time. Every time you step between the lines, you have to be going 100%. If you don't, that's when you're going to get trucked. You can't build a football team around players who show up and don't know what it means to do their job. One of the lessons I try to teach my players is this. The team doesn't need everyone to be a star. Think about that. Not everyone needs to be a star. The team needs just everybody to do their job. That's all you need to do. Do your job. I can't stress that enough. Do your job and everything will turn out fine. You may not always win the game, but you will always be in the game. Imagine that. You will always be in the game if you do your job. Last year, we didn't win all of our games, but we were in every one of our games. Even when varsity took a lot of our players up to play varsity, we were still in all of our games because every player did their job. That's what you have to stress. Imagine what would happen if every player decided that they all wanted to be or do the exciting part of the game. In other words, if nobody wanted to block, if nobody wanted to play scout team, if nobody wants to cover a kick, if nobody wanted to handle the dirty work. So let me go back up to if nobody wanted to block. How many receivers, how difficult is it let me rephrase it, how difficult is it to teach a receiver to block? A lot of receivers don't like to block. They think, well, I'm in the glory position. Why should I block? I don't have to block. I don't need to block. You have to teach them to block because they have to be able to go downfield and block. How many times you get a DB that's down there and he makes those executive decisions and he doesn't tackle? You see that in the pros all the time. A lot of pros make those executive decisions. They don't want to make that tackle on their own. Or they sit there and they throw their body into it or they dive for it, hoping they tackle them when they're actually not wrapping up. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, they're not willing to do the dirty work. They all just want it to be the stars. the team would fail if everybody just wanted to be a star, and it would fail quickly because football requires sacrifice. So everybody has to learn to sacrifice. It requires players willing to put the team ahead of themselves. Every team has one or two stars. The player who is not willing to put in the work or put the team ahead of themselves. And when this happens, they find themselves not playing very long because colleges also look for selfless players on and off the field. There are plenty to choose from. Be one of the players that rise to the top because colleges are looking for those type of players. Players that will rise to the top. Players that are willing to put the team ahead of themselves. Be a team player. That's why I respect players who embrace their role. Not because it's easy, but it's difficult. It takes maturity. It takes selflessness. It takes understanding that your contribution matters even when nobody is talking about it. You are going to be in a position, especially if you're new to this game, you're going to be into a position that nobody talks about. You may not even get noticed. But the coaches notice you if you're doing your job. Be the role model other players want to be or they want to emulate you. One of my favorite players over the years wasn't necessarily the most talented player on the field, but he understood his job. Every day he showed up prepared. Every day he gave maximum effort. Every day he put the team first. Those players are the players who come up to. So those are the players or the ones that the best players. Let me rephrase it. The best players are the players that come up to the coach and say, "Coach, I'll play anywhere you need me. I just want to play football." I usually get one or two of those players every year. "Coach, just want to play football. Put me wherever you need me." That's a dying breed right there. Those are the players coaches trust. Those are the players teammates rely on. Those are the players who often become your leaders on a team. Not because they demanded leadership, because they earned it. They earned the respect of their teammates. The funny thing about football is that players who focus most on helping the team often end up getting recognized anyways. Think about that. If you're just doing your job and putting the team first, you're probably going to get recognized anyways. You'll probably end up starting. You'll probably end up being a captain. You'll probably get where you want to be anyways because you put the team first. Not because you chase the attention, but because you chase excellence. You want to be the best that you can be. That's all you have to do. Do your job. You become the best. And that's a lesson that applies far beyond football. In life, successful people often understand their responsibilities and execute them consistently. They often spend all their time worrying about what someone else, they don't spend a lot of time worrying about what somebody else is thinking or doing. Stop it. Don't worry about what the guy's doing next to you. Don't worry about the guy, what the person is doing in your same position. Worry about your job. Do your job to the best of your ability, and eventually you'll either become the starter or at least you'll give that other person a run for his money and have him, he'll be looking over his shoulder, worrying about his job. So do the best that you can. Somebody who spends time worrying about their own job, they focus on their job well and they do it well. Football teaches that lesson every season. Do your job. Focus on your position. The best teams are rarely the teams with the biggest egos. Think about that. The best teams are rarely the teams with the biggest egos. They're the teams with the most players committed to a common purpose. Players who understand that every role matters. Players who understand that every job contributes to the bigger picture. Players who understand that the team needs them. Regardless what position you are, regardless whether you're first string, second string, or last string, whatever, or scout team. It doesn't matter. You are needed on that team. Be the player, you will get recognized. You seek. Be that player, and you'll get recognized. Trust me. Do your job. Do not be your player. Don't be somebody else. Not to do somebody else's job. Do your job. And do it well. So in closing, a football team doesn't need 11 stars. It never has. It needs 11 players doing their job. Knowing your role, take pride in your role, master your role, because everyone commits to doing their job, the entire team becomes stronger. And that's where real success begins. So thanks for watching. If you are learning something from this week's series, please hit the bell below and subscribe. Share with family and friends, and I'll see you on the next episode of JV Matters. You all have an outstanding day.